There is no readiness to talk about ending the war and making decisions, which means there is a lack of political will, which means Russia does not feel that it needs to end this war, which means there is not enough political, economic and other pressure on the Russian Federation. And that is why we are asking, if there is no ceasefire, if there are no serious decisions, if there are no bilateral meetings, we are asking for appropriate sanctions that will serve as an incentive for a faster end to the war, or at least speed up our discussions about this. We want a strong package of sanctions, which was mentioned recently. In the past few weeks, there has been a lot said about this by the USA, by European countries, as well as by countries of the global south, which do not support the imposition of sanctions. This is due to their respective economic relations with Russia, but now Russia is showing that it does not want to end the war. I think that there should be a global movement from Kyiv. We can't just run around the world looking for this person. It seems to me that the world should help us so that both sides sit down at the negotiating table and end this war by one means or another. The United States of America. I believe that right now both the United States of America and Turkey are feeling disrespected by Russia, in my opinion. There is no meeting time, no meeting agenda, no high-level delegation. This is personal disrespect. I'm not saying that the Russians don't respect us. That's already obvious. But for us, it's a mirror image. Yes, but they are here. Disrespect towards Erdogan, disrespect towards Trump. Trump is sending a large group of people. Secretary of State Rubio. Who are the parties to the war? Russia and Ukraine. Secretary of State Rubio is present. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Turkey is present. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine is present. Where is the corresponding person from the Russian Federation? This is disrespect not just towards Ukraine, but towards everyone, primarily towards Turkey, because the meeting is being held here.
Zelensky was making some statements demanding that Putin appear in person. Well, he's a pitiful man, but everyone understands this except perhaps for himself and those who are pulling his strings. Then his senior comrades explained to him that he shouldn't behave so foolishly and that negotiations are necessary. By the way, over the past 3 or 4 days, the West has somehow pushed the word ceasefire into the background. We explained in great detail that, by the way, Macron was asked, he gave some interview here 3 days ago, and he was asked, and he said, negotiations are needed, a meeting is needed, but everything must be done so that the main thing is a ceasefire. And Ukraine should approach the negotiations from a position of strength. Here's a straightforward answer. It's a frank admission. Why is a ceasefire needed? So that Ukraine can be built up, so that it can prepare to negotiate at some point from a position of strength. But Macron was told, that this is not what it's about right now. The Americans supported our president's proposal. We need to give negotiations a chance. No one can guarantee that everything will go smoothly without problems. On the contrary, there will definitely be problems, just as there were 3 years ago in Istanbul, when the initial principles were already prepared to be put into a formal agreement, but the British forbade the Kyiv regime from continuing this process, which could have been completed, could have resolved things. And now, by the way, the British are once again acting as guides, leading Zelensky through the jungle of world politics.
And here I read that Zelensky called the level of the Russian delegation, headed by Medinsky, with the participation of the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia, Mr. Galuzin, representative of the Ministry of Defense, and the head of the main directorate of the General Staff of the Russian Federation, theatrical. Who uses the word theatrical? Fake. A clown? A loser? A person whose own education is unknown, talking about people who not only have a basic education, but also academic degrees, achievements for the motherland, people who have proven their professionalism through their work. He calls them theatrical. Who does he think he is? On what grounds can a person who came to power through information technology and massive investments made solely so he could serve as a tool, dare to question the professional level of anyone at all? This is a person who has no right to speak that way about the highest professionals in their field.
We view these negotiations as a continuation of the peace process in Istanbul, which unfortunately was lost due to the actions of the aggressor country. That's how it is. Our official delegation has been approved by a presidential decree, and it possesses all the necessary competencies and authority to conduct negotiations. The delegation is focused on being constructive, on seeking possible solutions and points of convergence. The goal of direct negotiations with the Ukrainian side is sooner or later to achieve the restoration of long-term peace by eliminating the fundamental root causes of the conflict.